Oh, can you see me, guys? Can you see me? I am here. I am here. And I am live. We don't have the best. In fact, I need to remove my sweater. We don't have the best connection today. Unfortunately, I've been rushing. Today is Sunday. Yes, it is Sunday, the 18th, the day before the inauguration of President Trump, the new president of the US coming in, President Donald Trump. Oh my gosh. You know, I am actually kind of excited, to see a new dispensation. I'm hoping that this is going to be a better time for our history compared to the last time because there's been too many wars. And I'm really hoping, really, that he's going to stop most of the wars that are going on in the country. But today, we are not talking about politics. We're talking about why are single moms undervalued and mocked on mainstream media and also on social media? Why, guys? Why? Um, I'll tell you a little bit of a story. I'm going to start it off with a story. Today, I'm going to show you a lot of videos, and I'm hoping that Susan is going to come on. Let me let her know that we're on. But, I was a single mom for many, many, many years. Could I say 20, 22 years? Yeah, before I finally got married. And those years were very memorable. They were very memorable, both for positive and negative things. I'm sure many of you guys have experience with single motherhood. Some of you who follow me here have been single moms before, or they have single moms in their family. You have single moms in your family who you love and who you've seen go through a lot of, difficulties and stresses. But today we're going to be talking about single motherhood. Why are we talking about single moms? Because it's an important subject. Um, Single moms, I think, are the unsung heroes of our time. In fact, one thing we forget is that most of us have actually come from colonial past. Either we've been colonized or, have been enslaved, gone through some sort of enslavement, both black and white people. And during those periods, many men had to go to war. So a lot of that time was spent by women raising children alone. Women left alone to work in factories, to raise children alone. Thank you very much for your likes, guys. Thank you for joining me in the StreamYard. And the links are over there. But the links are in the StreamYard there. If you want to join us in studio, you can. And if you want to join us in the comment section, you're welcome to do that. You can also find my link on YouTube, and the link is also there. So come on, let's join. Let's talk about single motherhood. It's quite an interesting thing. Today, we're not just going to be crying, we're going to be trying to encourage one another. Okay. So let me add Susan to the stage, by the way. Hi, Susan. Karibu sana.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. And you? How are you?
I'm fine, thanks.
All right. That's
Yeah.
great. Yeah. Today, we have that hot topic, yeah, about single moms. Yeah. So, guys, yeah, like I was saying, single moms are the unsung heroes. And in all societies, many, many societies, any society that has had to draft young men into war, it means that there were women who were left behind to raise children, to raise families on their own. And for some reason, we don't call those single moms. But yet they were single moms because many of them never even saw their husbands return. They ended up having to look after their children by themselves. And they were also the unsung heroes of their day. So single motherhood is not some sort of disease. It's a situation. It's a circumstance. Okay. So we're not going to be like putting blame games on anybody on this issue, but the idea is to just discuss this whole issue of single moms. Why is it that the media and mainstream media and everyone else mocks and talks about single moms in such negative light? Why? And like I said, was a single mom for quite a bit of time, but eventually I got married. But I never forgot single moms, never forgot them because I believe I could have been Saul. If any of you guys follow the Bible, I could have been Saul in the days or where before he turned into Paul. Because I think I used to be one of those people who used to mock single moms and say, me, become a single mom. How? Never. But guess what? I'm telling you, I was afflicted. Can I call it afflicted? I was afflicted with a single mom, tag for over 20 years of my life. Yeah, and it was really, 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 really something. So I want to present something to you, just to show you about the kinds of bullying that single moms have had to go through. And I'm going to start by sharing my screen and showing you a couple of videos on this same issue. And it's not necessarily positive, you know. Let me see here if I'm actually getting it correct. Uh, yeah. Yeah. Um, Yeah. So basically, the thing is that single moms have been always attacked. Single moms have been going through a lot. It's time for us to talk about it openly and not allow people just to, talk to us the way they want. Okay, so let's go here. Here's a message from single moms. Let me share this screen. I hope it's going to share.
At your age or older, the men who will be looking for what
Let's
you're
start from the
looking as a
beginning.
single mother, your value as a woman is less than somebody who does not have kids. If you're looking for that long-term relationship, which you've said you are, looking for a guy who's like at your age or older, the men who will be looking for what you're looking for aren't looking for you. They're looking for women who are much younger than you and who do not have kids. Do you understand that?
Well, you seem to think that every woman is exactly the same, but I'm not the same kind of person as the woman you're talking about. I don't have an IQ of 100. I'm not a moron. I'm fairly attractive. I don't think I'm going to have an issue. And what I did decide was that I would rather be by myself. My concern wasn't hypergamy. I'm going to go find someone older, wiser.
As a single mother, you're
Okay, let me stop sharing that one. But it doesn't get much better than that. I hope you've seen that. Yeah. And that is, oh, yes. Hi, Achisa. Welcome to the show. Yeah. Let's talk about this. I'm preaching. Yeah. We need to talk about this and we need to open our minds to this discussion. Because you see, if we don't talk about it as the older single moms, then we're just going to subject younger and younger generation to a lot of bullying and abuse, which is unnecessary and actually an attack and an affront to our mental health, to the mental health of women generally. Okay. Single moms become single moms because of various situations and circumstances. And regardless of the situation, the fact is what's important is how you deal with challenges that come your way. How do we deal with them? How do we deal with issues? That's what's important. Do we back up and run away and leave the child and throw it in the toilet? Some people actually do that. Some mothers have actually been known to take their children, throw them in the trash, put them in a bag, and throw them actually in a deep hole, in a pit latrine. We've heard of babies who are rescued from pit latrines because of what? Stigma, fear, lack of social support for single moms, for people who find themselves in a situation where their egg has met with a sperm and developed into an embryo and turned out a baby. Okay. And because of the cruelty of the world and because of fear and lack of discussion and lack of social support and safety nets, women have had to make terrible decisions that they live forever to regret. Some women have had to also get rid of their babies to actually be forced into either having their children adopted or have forced abortions just because they don't want to be tagged with that baggage of single mom, unmarriageable single mom. Just like you heard that gentleman say right now, he said, "You're not the kind of person that we're looking for." What do you think, Susan? First of all, welcome to the show, Susan. Would you like to say something while I also identify some more videos for you?
Yeah, it's true that we have single moms as a result of various circumstances. The context is different. It could be the circumstances, it could be by choice. And definitely the treatment of single moms is not optimal. We find that like Queen Mo said, lack of social support. There's some stigmatization by the society. You're treated differently, and there's no real understanding of the sort of issues that you have to deal with as you raise your children. And the interesting thing about it is like Queen Mo gave the example of war or strife, national strife. Like in Kenya, we had the Mau Mau rebellion in the 1950s. I mean, the world wars, women were raising their children on their own. The men had gone to war. Other circumstances like work. your husband has gone to work in another country and is away for most of the year, most of the time, and even when he comes back, he's not really present with the family because he's got very used to being on his own. The other thing is separation. It could be by choice again. Somebody has decided to desert the family and just abandoned the family and the mother and the children, and maybe gone off to marry somebody else, or completely decided on a different marital status in terms of they don't want to be to have a family to take care of. So these circumstances are there, and then of course there's one by choice. We have circumstances where we have women as they mature deciding that they want to have a child, and so they want to raise that child on their own, or even the culture. Sometimes it depends on the culture that you come from. There's also that expectation that a woman would want, if she when she reaches a certain age and she's not married, maybe she could think of having a child, and so that circumstance is there. I know in the East, in the Far East, among the Asian countries, children in the latter circumstance that I described, that is frowned upon. So children are normally born within the context of a marriage, or within the context of an intimate partner relationship. The other thing is that one thing that we've noticed, of something that observed in the course of my work, is that you find a woman who's had a child perhaps early in her life, wants to get married, but her husband is not interested in the child that she had before, so he doesn't want to take the care of that child. So you find these women being separated from their children, and the child is left to be raised by a relative. Mostly it's the parents, so the parents are left to look after the children in that circumstance. So in some cultures, I mean, our law here in Kenya, and I'm sure in most countries, if I'm not wrong, the preference is to give especially younger children into the custody and care of the mother. So again, you find the mother is the one who's physically raising the child, trying to get payments through, even when there are court orders for maintenance of the children and payment of school fees. That is an uphill battle, a complete uphill battle. We have some cultures, they'll say, regardless of whether there's a court order, they'll say, if I don't pay for people who are not living in my house. And yet they are the ones who have created a circumstance where the family has to separate it in such a way. Yeah, so it's actually a very important subject. Again, the experience I've also seen is if the child is of a different gender. If it's for women, of course, the child is a male child. The challenges, again, when it comes to raising that child, they are very subtle challenges. They're also challenges that are sort of like institutional. And when I say that, it could be circumstances where it's like a boys only or male only space for purposes of discussing male issues. And because you're a mother, a single mother, you cannot attend that. So your child is somehow discriminated against, and you have to send a proxy, maybe an uncle or a close male friend to be the proxy there. And yet you, as the mother, as the one who has raised that child, mostly on your own and with some support from your family and friends. So I've seen that is quite, in my view, that's quite discriminatory. That there are certain circumstances where they'll insist that it has to be a male only space, and then if you say, well, I can't, we cannot produce the father because for various circumstances, for various reasons, because of singlehood, there is the circumstances under which you ended up just being a single parent, and they say, well, you have to look for a male. So you have to look for another male, somebody like I've described, an uncle, your brother, cousin, somebody else, but somebody who's male, to attend that particular seminar with them on your behalf. Yeah, so single parenthood is actually the lived experience of many women, even when they're married, because the men are absent by choice sometimes. It's very real, you know. We're the ones who are called, the parents are, the women are the ones who attend the parents teachers meetings and get all the lectures from the teachers about how you know, child has failed the exams and ABCD and EFG, and yet the father may be somewhere, but he won't be bothered to attend those type of meetings. So you know, in fact, I remember when my children were younger, we would look around the hall when we had the parents teachers meeting, and you'd find that there were very, very, very few men. Most of the people who were there were women who have come to meet the teachers to discuss their child's progress. Yeah, so that's what I'll share for now. You have the videos ready?
Yeah. Thank you, Susan. I want to show you some rather negative videos over here, which will, you know, kind of like they won't make you feel very happy to watch them if you're a single mom. I'm hoping that you guys are going to call single moms to come on this forum. Let's talk, let's share ideas. And also married women who love single moms and who are also maybe aunties or uncles, and men also who are uncles to single mom children, or who are products of single parents for whatever reason. You could be a married person, but you could be a product of a single mom household. So, you know, and again, another thing that we didn't mention here is that there's a lot of violence in societies, and many young girls, even women, are sometimes subjected to sexual exploitation and end up actually having these children. And what is the alternative? What is the option? Is the option to turn a blind eye to the child and go away? Or is the option to actually look after the child? You know? So let's just take a look here and see what people are saying. these videos were irritating me to death, but I think you guys, there's one guy here who's my favorite, and I want to share with you and see what he has to say.
Why would anybody want to deal with you? How about that?
Let's see. I'm intelligent. I'm motivated. I have my own business. I maintain my own lifestyle. I'm not understanding the full scope of your question.
Well, see, that's the problem now, ain't it? You just described yourself as a man. See, you got to understand what the men want. And nothing you said in there was anywhere close to being feminine, beautiful, inspirational, caring, loving. The way you're talking almost sounds like a dude. Why would anybody want to deal with you?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah. So there we go. That is Kevin Samuels. He's now the late Kevin Samuels, the number one hater of single moms. Number one. And the person who like literally started the Red Pill movement, you know, all these movements, you know, against women and against single moms. Super toxic human person, you know, who actually went down by a woman who is a woman of the night, a pro, you know, a pro. That's how he went down. He went down. He's the guy who introduced the high value male. He considered himself a high value male. And this is a man who listens. I mean, he says, why would anyone want anything to do with you as a single mom? And the woman says she's intelligent, she's hardworking, she's everything. And he says, you're just describing a male. Yeah. So, you know, there are some men who actually they have mommy issues. They've had experiences with their mothers that make them not want anything to do with women. There are actually people out there who don't like women. And that's one of the things that I realized much later, once I became a single mom, that there were men actually who just did not like women. And you need to separate those. You need to know that once you show as a woman that you can actually look after a child by yourself and run your household and pay bills, it sometimes tends to trigger negative responses, yeah, from not just men, but also women, members of the community, and not just women your age mates, even older women, people who are like, oh, how come she can do that? You know, how come she can run a household? How come she can pay school fees? How come her children look happy? How come her children are doing well in school? How come the child looks well adjusted? Why? And she's alone. I remember when I was a single mom one time, there were many people who used to say, so who's the man? Who's the guy? Who's the guy in your life who's creating, providing like this for your child? And I would actually point up and I'd say, up there he is. Go talk to him. He might have some extra to share with you. So anyway, yeah, that's just the negativity that comes along with being a single mom. Really, it's just very, very sad. Yeah. So let's go into something else.
Let me
Focus on the
just comment
family.
as well.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Okay. I just wanted to comment as well.
Okay, yeah,
his
sure,
remarks-
Susan.
Yeah, his remarks are very, very disturbing, because he is completely seeing that the men he's not even understanding the context of being a single mom, because you have to a single mom has to parent the child, and they have to provide for the child. So when he's saying the person is describing herself as a dude, as a guy, I mean, that is completely uncalled for. I mean, who else is supposed to provide for this child if not the mother? So what was his suggestion? That's a very sort of toxic thinking. Really, if you take it further, he's sort of saying that women have no business having children without there being a man in the house. I mean, how can that be? And we know the reality. The reality is that women do find themselves, as we said, different circumstances, actually raising children on their own, because of absence of males. And it's not, I know it could be by choice, but I think the ones by choice could be in a very small minority. And those who are, like Queen Moore talked about, the ones who have children as a result of sexual assault and stuff like that. Some of them choose to continue to have their children. I saw an article about the women of Nyanyuki and those who have raised children as a result of being raped by the British soldiers who have come for training, and the challenges they face because they opted to have the children. And things like that. Who is victim blaming, and a very, very sort of skewed way of viewing life. You can't really comment on something unless you've walked a mile in that person's shoes. Unless you take yourself out of the context or where you are and try to see things through the other person's viewpoint. So, I think it's unfortunate that this Kevin Samuels, he was the one who was behind all this very, very toxic masculinity that we were seeing online. And in fact, some of those groups have been shut down even by the online platforms because they're not helping families.
Unfortunately, unfortunately, very many males have actually bought into the Kevin Samuels, kind of way of thinking without actually looking at history. Look at the African American culture, the culture in the US, for example, the way it started. It started with slavery. It started with the separation of families. Everybody knows that, What happened is that women, they've just discovered that there were actually farms. There are different kinds of slave farms. Some where they were picking cotton, some where they were breeding farms. Okay, they were actually breeding. Others where they were doing even worse things than that. And if you want, you can go online, and I won't talk about it here in my video, but there are some places where they were actually breeding humans. They were breeding the next future slaves. The breeding there was one male who was breeding so many women. And that is where single mothers were created. Yeah. So there's one, there's one male, one super male, one super guy who is breeding everybody. And that is where that word MF, mother F, you've heard of that. Mother F, you know what that is? Is because on those breeding farms, they were also breeding their own mothers. A son would breed their mother. So let me tell you the kind of assault that there has been on the Black woman, especially the Black woman in America, for somebody like Kevin Samuels and all his followers to actually give him even an ear, just goes to show the ignorance and actual foolishness, complete foolishness and ignorance. Yeah. And it's just unfortunate. I mean, I get really upset about this. I'm going to use words like that. Yeah, it's foolishness. Being foolish means making wrong decisions, being unwise. Foolish means not being wise. Yeah. I'm not insulting them. I'm saying they're not being wise. People use the word F a lot. I don't use the word F. I'd rather use the word foolishness because it's true. In the UK, they use the word stupid. I don't like the word stupid, but because I don't know what the opposite is, But yeah, that's a situation that we have, and we have a lot of people buying into that kind of stuff. So anyway, I wanted to share with you Focus on the Family, which is one of the programs I used to watch as a single mom in the US, and which used to help me a lot as a single mom about how to manage my situation as a single mom and how to cope as a single mom generally. Yeah. So I don't know if I can find it here. Overcoming tough times as a single mom. Yes, I think this is it. Yes, this is it. Let me share it. I'll share it briefly here.
It's a different promise. And you have to have the insight to see that and walk in that. And in that moment, I think that Hagar moves on and actually moves her son forward. And that's what a lot of what the book is about, the encouragement there from that story.
Mm-hmm. Welcome to the Focus on the Family broadcast, helping families thrive.
John, speaking to the listeners and the viewers, odds are you know somebody who is a single parent, a single mom particularly. The U.S. has the world's highest rate of children living in single parent households.
I'm not sure I knew that.
Yeah, that's a stunner. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, 1 in 6 children in the U.S. are being raised without a father. And again, we understand there are dads who are single parents, but another data point is 80% of the single parents are moms. So we're going to speak to that today. We see you. We know you are there, that 20% that are the dads raising their children. I think a lot of what we talk about today is going to be relevant to you, but we're going to address our topic toward moms raising sons. And, let me just say, I come from a single parent household. My mom, after my mom and dad divorced when I was 5, she did it, and she did it well until she died when I was 9. I mean, she didn't have that much time with me, but she gave me so much. And man, even the work ethic, I can remember her working 2 and 3 jobs just to put food on the table. And she was just that kind of person. And then running around trying to keep the family together, with meals and laundry and all the stuff. I think back on it, I just wish I would have been more mature and been able to do my own laundry to help her out now. But we want to speak to your heart today. You've got a big job, the most important job, and we want to help you with the tools to do it even better.
And our guest was also raised by a single mom. And as Jim said, there are single dads listening in. We do believe you'll hear some good stuff here from our guest. Roland Warren is the CEO of CareNet, a pro-life ministry that supports a network of pregnancy centers and helps women in crisis pregnancies. His latest book is Raising Sons of Promise, a guide for single mothers of boys. And it really is going to form the basis of our conversation today. Get your copy when you click the link on the screen or call 800-A-FAMILY.
Roland, welcome back to Focus.
Well, thank you for having me, Jim. Great to be here.
It's good to see you. Thanks for all you do at CareNet. I mean, Focus works with CareNet, and we both work with those wonderful pregnancy resource centers around the country who are trying to help a mom make the right decision. Let me make that big commercial statement here. In church, if you notice a single mom and you're an intact family, can you wrap around her a little bit, maybe help her with the kids, and just be that family that stood in the gap for her and with her? And the same is true with the guys who are single parent dads. But I'm just saying, and we won't say it again, but if you have the capacity, put your arm around those folks. And those kids are going to benefit substantially by your act of kindness. Let's go to it, Roland. It's not culturally acceptable to say that a father's absence is difficult,
Yeah.
even though all the data supports that. Man, children do so much better when dad is in the home. And the culture, especially the progressives, want to ignore that. You know, it doesn't matter. Dads don't matter. Moms can do it all. It's not the way God designed it.
No, absolutely not. And you know, I think one of the things that kind of led me down this path, having grown up without a dad in my life, that perspective really is what kind of led me to really think about the role of fathers and how important they are to the well-being of kids, but also given the father absence crisis that you talked about a little bit before, the role of single moms. That in so many of those cases, you know, a dad may not step into the picture. So if you're going to break the cycle, certainly we need to reach out and try to engage dads. But the other key is really helping moms raise their boys, not just to be good men, but also to be good husbands and good fathers as well.
So true.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to stop over there. Now, what were the main things that you picked up from there, guys? Those of you who watched it, I know it was a little bit long, but I wanted to share with you Focus on the Family. I do remember James Dobson is actually the person who helped me to understand relationships very well. He used to have this this Focus on the Family program when I was in the US. I used to listen to it on radio. That was way before the days of WhatsApp. And YouTube and all these. I used to listen to it on the radio on the way to work, in the car. And James Dobson is the person who came up with the statement that maturity is the acceptance of responsibility. In other words, the way to tell whether your partner is ready for you, how to choose a life partner, how to choose a marriage partner, is that the person should be willing to accept responsibility. It's not about the age, chronological age. It's about their willingness to accept responsibility. Now, Focus on the Family. There's this guy now here called Jim Daly, and he's interviewing a gentleman there he's a product of a single mom household, and also he's interviewing somebody who is also from a single mom household. And the purpose of that interview was to try to help mothers to raise well-adjusted sons, because there is this belief that single mothers cannot raise well-adjusted men, husbands, that we don't have, that single moms don't have, women don't have the capacity, we don't have the material, the know-how, the wherewithal to raise boys. We can only raise girls, apparently. What do you guys think about that? Do you think that's true? Yeah. And then the other thing is that when you listen to those statistics, you see, like in the US, 80%. Yeah, what were they saying? That 80% of what, Susan? Did you pick that one up? There's so many households where there's,
They said single women, out of the percentage of, they said there are very many single parents in the
single
US,
parents
and 80% of them are women.
are women.
And
Yes,
so they said they're going to speak mostly to the women because
to the women.
they constitute
Yes.
the great majority, a super majority of those who raising their children on their own. But
Exactly.
20% are men. Yeah.
And they said that they actually can see them. It's not that they're ignoring men, but there are 80% of those who are single parents are actually female. Yeah, female single parents. And that's actually true. And then I also saw another program, a follow-up to that one, where he was also saying that 1 in 4 children in America right now is being raised in a single parent household. Those are approximately over 22 million children in America being raised in a single parent household. 22 million is not a small number. So we cannot just brush off single mothers with one stroke of a pen and say, forget about single mothers, who would want you, that kind of thing. But on the other hand, there are extremes. I came across a few extremes where you'll find that some women have got 7 children by the age of 22 or something, and all by 7 different baby daddies. Now that's very irresponsible in my view, but it's also something to do with the culture. There's a problem. Obviously that there's a problem there. It's a breakdown of the family, breakdown of society. It shows that there's a broken society somewhere. Okay. And I don't think that any woman would want to subject herself to 7 pregnancies by 7 different men, not even knowing how she's going to feed her children. And especially when they start very early, usually it's you'll find if you dig further that these women have actually been abused when they were young. So they have developed certain types of habits and behaviors that they were, that were kind of imposed on them because of the way they lived. Yeah. So Susan, you want to say anything about that? About the James Dobson thing?
Yeah, I just wanted to comment about, we understand, of course, that, both mother and father have important roles to play in the upbringing of children. But that doesn't mean if one of them is absent, that the children cannot be brought up in the right way. We have a lot of people who have, if you're hearing those stats there in the US, the huge number of people who have been raised by single parents, that doesn't mean that they have not been able to reach their full potential or great potential or high impact individuals. I mean, like the person who's there talking about, who has that organization. I mean, that is somebody who's impacting the lives of so many people, and he has been raised by a single parent. So one thing I think we need to guard against is overemphasizing the importance of, because it's not that it's when we don't choose our words carefully, or when we talk in broad strokes like that, it's sort of like stigmatizing children and saying, well, because you've been raised by a single parent, you're unlikely to achieve as well as one who has been raised in a family, in a home where they're both parents. But you see, the circumstances are different, and that doesn't mean that that child will be an underachiever at all. That child, a child brought up by a single parent can be a very, very high achiever and a leader. So we need to dispel people of that stereotyping, and which already makes people think that we've already lost the race. We're not starting. Our starting line is not at the same level as others, because they've come from a family with two parents. Because we do know that even if these families with two parents can be extremely toxic, and the children living in those type of environments could be experiencing worse trauma or more hardship than a child who's been raised by a single parent, because of the abuse that is in that family, maybe the toxic masculinity, the patriarchy, the misogyny, all that. There could be, and that environment is very hostile.
Could be violent
Yeah.
also.
Yes. Strict some maybe overbearing parents who don't allow their children to even think, and so so I think each case turns on its own fact. But I think we need to stop talking about the fact that saying that because a child comes from a family with a single parent, that they are less likely to succeed or less likely to achieve.
It's actually the opposite. It's not true at all. When I was raising my son as a single parent, he became a super achiever. Susan here also, super achiever kids, all of us here, and I know very many people who have raised children on their own, and their kids are very successful, regardless. Because it's not just about the single parent home, it's also looking at the environment in which the child is growing up. There are supportive structures that are beyond that single parent. In fact, children are supposed to be brought up by a village, a community. A community is the one that's supposed to bring up a child, not just an individual. Yeah. And if you look at, for example, the Bushmen of the Kalahari, or people like the Maasai themselves, by the way, here in Kenya, you'll find that children are brought up by their mothers only up until a certain age. And then after a certain age, boys go to the men and the girls remain with their mothers. It's very common in African culture that children at the age of around 8, they start moving. They start, being separated, segregated, so that they take on more masculine roles and identity, or more feminine identity. So they identify with either one, and not necessarily their fathers, by the way, or their mothers. It's just the males or the females. So what about the role of everybody else in the society? Fia is also saying here that I know that in South Africa, many households have single moms raising children. Some girls are barely legal in age. Barely. It's the same here in Kenya, but I think probably far more in South Africa. That's true, Fia. You're right. Yeah. And that's one of the biggest problems there, where we have child abuse, child marriage. And that's also very bad. And then Fia is also saying it's hardly frowned upon. Women just get on with bringing up their children. It's true. They do. And we're not saying that it's good or bad. All we're saying is that it's a circumstance. It's there. What are you going to do about it?
Yeah.
So let me present something else to you here, please, before we go on. I've got quite a few videos to share with you today so that you can also enjoy.
Also,
So there's a doctor
just
here
an
who's...
Oh,
Oh,
sorry.
sorry, Susan. Okay.
I was just going to say, also in Malawi and other countries where the culture is still very strong and we're having child marriage, you find
Mhm.
children
Yeah.
who are really children having children,
Yeah.
because they are married off and stuff like that. And then, of course, at the end of the day, they also end up raising those children on their own. There could be also children who are victims of sexual assault. And we actually saw some in the hospital. We went for a mission in Malawi. Very
Mhm.
young girls, and
Yeah, we'll get to that. We'll allow you to talk about that. Let me just show this video and then we move on. And then you can talk about that a little bit more. Child brides, Susan, that's another one there.
After their careers and or have these unrealistic expectations are the biggest problems that we face when it comes to dating relationships. And let me be clear, all those things are viable issues. However, one man thinks that this is the biggest crisis facing the Black community.
There's a talk I give on the 5 biggest challenges Black people have for the next 100 years. The number one challenge is the existential crisis of the Black family. The existential crisis of the Black family. Marriage in our culture is down to 34%. When we were growing up, it was 85%. It's now down to 34%.
That can't be good, right?
You got any kids?
Yes, I have 3. And 3 baby days.
Oh, no.
See?
Anything else?
You the problem. You's a problem. That's what it is, bro.
3 kids, 3 baby days. You want to do my 4th one? Hell no.
Do you have any kids?
I do. Brace yourself.
I believe you won't be able to top the women that have been on my show.
Are you sure about that?
I have 7 children.
Come again.
Are they all by the same man?
No,
How many men?
5.
That's going to be a lot.
Well, the right one will accept it all.
Hell no.
The right one will accept it all. Okay. What's some deal breakers?
Someone who doesn't have his stuff together.
Do you hear yourself, woman?
Yes, I had my first child at 13. I got pregnant at 13. Then I had another one at 15. Then popped another one at 16. Then 17. Then 18.
5 times.
19, and so on. Yes, I have 7 kids. I'm not ashamed of it. From 7 different men.
A clean 7 by 7?
And I'm currently pregnant right now with my 8th child.
I beg your pardon?
And that's by my food stamp plug. That helps me get $3,000 a month in food.
Maybe I'm tripping, but the food stamp plug is just Uncle Sam, right? What are we talking about here?
Oh, yes. I mean, I was young, but I don't care.
She was young.
I don't care. I love 7 kids, and I'm going to continue to have more.
She finna be a whole 8 by 8.
71% of our sisters are not married. 29% will never get married. 63% of our brothers are not married. 30% of them will never get married. There is no culture in the history of humankind that has risen to maximize their full human potential without family at the center of their culture.
Okay. That was really eye-opening, guys. That was really, really eye-opening. And one of the statistics I want to bring to your attention is 63% of Black men are not married. 30% of them will never marry. Yeah. 80-something% of Black women are not married. Yeah. And the same number will probably never get married. Like a big number, a big proportion will not get married. And I do agree with him that family is at the center of society. And so when we see the breakdown of the family, where we see young girls at the age of 13 getting pregnant and popping babies every single year until they're 19, until they're 20, and as she speaks, she's not even apologetic and she's pregnant. Yeah, what does that mean? And now Fia is saying this is extreme craziness. Wow, it sure is. It's sure craziness. It really is, Fia. Extreme craziness. And I don't know why it is that the USA allows or even doesn't say anything or doesn't do enough to stop this kind of, giving birth, rabbit births by women. Yeah, especially you'll find that most of those women come from poor households or households where they were also brought up by single women, but it's not because they're single mothers. It's because these are actually, let's not blame the mothers. Let's just say where there was no male in the household, there was no father figure in the household or father there who stayed to raise his children. Why it is that there's always focus on the women, I don't know. Why don't they focus on the person who is not in the household? Why are they focusing on the person who stayed?
Yeah, that's an interesting question about why are they focusing on the one who's in the household. No, when you said that, I just remembered the laws, like in the US and in other countries where children are entitled to maintenance. Once a court orders maintenance, they're entitled to child support. And I think in some countries they're more serious about pursuing fathers who fail to pay for the child support, and there are serious consequences for that. But I think in most countries it's not taken as seriously as it should be, and in fact you end up spending more energy trying to get that child support from that person, from that father who's against who that order has been made, than you need. And I agree with you. Family is at the center of their culture. I think that's an important observation that was made there. And definitely the choice is that, the family be, that when you talk about family, we have to appreciate there are different type of families now because of the circumstances. And we don't want that to have a negative impact at all on the children, because at the end of the day, we're talking about continuity and the impact on the child. The child should not be blamed for circumstances under which the child was born, or the family in which the child was born. That blame should never seem to attach or appear to attach to the child, because that can create, it can be quite mentally debilitating, So I wish, personally, I prefer to guard against that. As a child advocate, one of the things I used to tell my clients, I used to say, this is the only type of case where the client or the client for both the opposing counsel and the presenting counsel is the child. So we have a common interest, which is the child, because the court will determine on something they call the best interest of the child. Of course, you try to argue it that your client is the one who will provide for the best interest of the child, but the focus is the child. So so single parenthood and single parenting is always a very, very big challenge. One of them, again, some of the other challenges is the issue of economics. When you have that shared responsibility of taking care of, creating a home, establishing a home for children, it's always better when there's more than one party. But this Kevin Samuels saying that because this lady said, I can provide for my child, you just described a man. He was actually indicting her for being a responsible person. The other challenge for being a single parent is that most of the care giving is up to you. So all the responsibility is on you. And like if it is a functional and a balanced marriage, because we know most of these marriages, we say they are married, but they're not balanced at all. There's shared responsibility, but when it's a single parent, there is, you have to do most of the stuff yourself. And then, as Queen Mo said, you look for the support from your family, extended family members who really come in there to support, the upbringing
Yeah.
of the child. And those are important issues, and that's why society is so important. And we'd hate to imagine a situation where a person is completely isolated and not getting the support they need to raise a child, and they're a single parent, and that could lead to other even more serious consequences like mental health illness, abandonment of the children, extreme things, infanticide. We have an offense in Kenya called concealing a birth, and that's when somebody has a child and then disposes of the child, delivers the child and disposes of the child in a pit latrine or wherever, just tries to get rid of the child. And that was, of course, because of the stigma that was attaching to at the time, the cultural stigma that children should be born within a certain context. But as time has gone on, people have become more pragmatic and realize that family can be described in different ways. And this is something that we need to do and something we need to focus on because of circumstances. The child should never ever be the one who felt the guilt or whatever it is should not be heaped on a child. That should never happen. The circumstances of their birth should never be heaped on a child. The mistakes of parents should never be heaped on children. So, and that's why I'm trying to just emphasize that issue about family. How do you describe it? Some families, you can imagine a situation where a choice has to be made by a woman. If she's going to stay in the family, they might all end up dead. So it's better to take your children and move away to a safe place. Are you going to condemn a single mother, somebody who decides to raise her children in a safer space? What was the right decision? That's still a family, So I think we just really need to look at the reasons why and the context before we make blanket statements and give statistics without we call it disaggregating it, disaggregating it, really getting down to the finer limits and distinctions, and before you make a statement.
The interest of the child is super important, by the way. And I would also probably say that it goes beyond children to adults. One of the things that when people are talking like this on social media, they seem to forget that the same proportion of people that are in those statistics are on social media. 1 of every 4 people on social media is a product of a single parent household. And they're there listening to you as you describe their household, as you disrespect their mother who sacrificed for them and gave so that they could live, and many women have denied themselves a lot to give so that their children can have. And if you ask many of the children of single parents, they're actually grateful and super proud of their parent. Even if they grew up in circumstances that were not ideal, they're very proud of their parent. And they also learned a lot of, they were able to, they could get life skills. They learned life skills, from their experiences. You'll find a lot of those children who grow up in such, and young people who grow up in such circumstances are making a big difference in communities and in societies. And the ones who are grown up in sheltered households are doing quite the opposite. It's just a fact, The resilience of children who grow up in single parents' household should be studied. Yeah, it should be studied because a lot of those children come out and they become super performers, supercharged for life. And you'll find a lot of people who are actually successful today. Julius Malema, he grew up in a single parent home. Yeah. Elon Musk grew up in a single parent household. Yeah. So there are so many people who have been brought up by single parents. Obama, same thing. Yeah. So we can't just draw blanket statements like Susan was saying and just like paint everything with a brush and say, oh, you're a product of a single parent. So there. Yeah, but even the statistics themselves, I think we should question them. We should question them. When were the studies taken? On who? Where were they? Were they all in the Bronx in New York? Where were they? Who are your study subjects? We who are researchers on this other side, we can also tell that statistics and damn lies and statistics are used to promote certain agendas, as we know. So let me go back and present something else to you here. Something a bit maybe more like it brings you this matter home maybe to you if you happen to be in Kenya. This is a lady who is talking to single moms on TikTok. Let me play it and let me see if I can make it, first of all, full screen. Oops, I need to stop because
able to achieve the one thing that I really wanted my mom
sorry
to do for me and my sister. So my sister and I grew up in a very violent home, very abusive environment. And I remember we kept on telling her, she kept on asking us, what is the one thing that you want me to do so that you guys are happy? And he kept on telling her, all we want you to do is leave dad. Because it was really bad. It was really bad. And usually I don't speak about such stuff, but I'm being vulnerable right now. So please be nice. So I remember just telling her, even my sister kept on telling her, we just want you and dad to separate because that's what is going to make us happy. We're really tired of the fighting, of the abuse, all of that. And she never left. Yeah. She stayed for most of my life. So looking at my child on her own on that day, that particular day actually, I was so proud of myself because I was this close to ending up with someone who would make not just me but my daughter unhappy for the rest of our lives. And she was at peace and she was happy and she's 8. And I know someone is going to come or comment section and try to make me feel bad for the decision that I made 5 years ago. But coming from a childhood that was full of nothing but violence, na matusi, na vita, then let me tell you, there's nothing that can bring me down. There's nothing that can convince me that the decision that I made 5 years ago is not one of the best decisions of my life. Like, I know my daughter is going to look at me one day and be like, thank you for choosing my peace of mind over any other thing. So to any single mother out there who feels as if she made the wrong decision, choosing herself first and then choosing her kids, trust me, coming from a child who was never chosen, you did a great job and you're doing a good job. And I know it's hard and I know the society makes it look like it's such a bad thing to be a single mother. Don't get me wrong, yeah? I'm all for a mother and a father and a child, but I'm also all for if it's a mother and a father and a child, then there should be peace, there should be respect, there should be love, there should be, and everything should be mutual. So yeah, I'm proud of myself. I achieved it. And I'm all for breaking the generational curses. I'm all for it ends with me. And it does, it ends with me. It ends with me and my daughter, at least for my generation. And I'm so proud of myself. I don't know why every time I choose to do a video on TikTok, I'm always wearing this. But yeah, it ends with us.
Oh, yeah. I am super proud of that girl. Super, super proud of her. You know, it's not easy to make that choice, especially having grown up watching your mother being abused and watching your mother take it and remain in that abusive situation. I think maybe she would have gravitated to just continue. And she decided, no, she's going to break the generational curse because she found herself in a situation where she was also going to experience violence and subject her child to that. Although she would have wished her mother would have left her father, she did not. She stayed with her abusive father and she broke that. And she said, no, I'm not going to allow my child to experience what I experienced. So congratulations to that lady and all the ladies who choose themselves first. Yes. Choose peace I think that's a very, very positive video right there. I enjoyed that, watching that.
Yeah, I agree with you that she made the right choice, choosing safety. When you look at the situation beyond that moment, that violence in that home, when you look at it and say, if perhaps the violence ends in physical injury, serious physical injury, or just physical injury, where there's a scar, or whatever. As a legal practitioner, I dealt with women in those circumstances, and they have scars, and the scars that your grandchildren will ask you, visible scars. Why can't you straighten your fingers? Why is there your leg bent? Why do you have, a keloid scar on the hand? Why is your jaw, why does your jaw look like that? Questions, and those are memories of harm that has been occasioned by somebody who is supposed to love you. I'm losing my train of thought there, because it's really something that we really need. That is the one very brave lady, and she made the right choice. Others who have asked their parents afterwards, why didn't you leave? Why didn't you leave earlier? Because by the time the parent has left, the mother has left. She's literally has so many mental health problems, so many physical problems. She's somebody who needs a lot of care and support from doctors and everything like that, because of the trauma that she faced. The extreme, of course, of violence in the home is one of the parents unaliving the other. Because of the circumstances, and that is the very worst legacy you can leave to your children. That's not even a legacy, because how, like I said in another video, is how do you live as a child knowing that one of your parents killed the other? And that how do you live with that? How does that child live? And it's better for parents to think about that. This situation is getting really nasty. Get out of Dodge. It's better for your children to know, we separated, rather than live with a situation that, one of your parents is no longer there because of the other one. We have terrible cases here, the Adagala case. I don't know whether you remember it. Seth Adagala and the Rose Adagala case. Yeah, he was a well-known TV personality, and he suffered. He actually suffered death in a domestic violence incident. His spouse was jailed for some years. She was convicted of manslaughter, so she was jailed for some years. But the children, just think about the children. So it's children should never be in that circumstance where they know one parent has harmed, and the other parent's not alive because the other one has killed them. Yeah.
Thank you, Susan, for reminding us about the South Adagala case. We'll have to go and read about it. And like that lady, and what you're discussing here is violence and about the scars and the memories that could be attached. You could actually, I've seen, we showed videos when we're talking about domestic violence. We showed videos of people who have suffered acid attacks. Yeah? Acid attacks in their sleep. Their spouse throws acid on them and disfigures them for life. Yeah. What's the point of that? Why not just get up and go and be a single parent? Go away, go away, leave, go and set up another household somewhere else. Raise your child in peace and in safety. Yeah. Yeah. And yes, there will be some suffering. Life is about suffering anyway. Yeah, nobody is insulated from suffering. We will be suffering a little bit, but we can also change our attitudes and become a little bit more empathetic, knowing that all of us are going to suffer suffering. We're all going to experience suffering of some sort, And so all I can say is, let us be a little bit more empathetic and understanding, and let us be less judgmental. And if a single parent is not for you, for example, if for example you're looking for a partner and a single parent is not your choice, one doesn't actually, nobody forced you, nobody paid you to get up and go to social media and go and trash all the single parents in the world and say, nobody should marry a single mother. Yeah, nobody should marry a single mother. Guys, don't marry a single mother. Yeah, because there are so many men who are going to marry a single mother, and you can't control that. It's going to happen, and it's happening. You can't stop it. It's like saying, guys, do not marry somebody with a disability. You can't do that. It's actually morally wrong. It is morally wrong and is exposing children, like Susan said. It's actually hurting them because every time that words are said against single moms, you're hurting their children. And some of them are under the age of 18. Yeah. So I think we should actually desist from that kind of chat, that kind of talk. So I'll just share, one or two more and then, okay, Susan. Mm-hmm.
I was just going to give an example.
Yeah, sure.
I had a children's court magistrate. He was a friend of mine, and he said, I asked him one time, what was one of the most baffling cases you've dealt with? And he said, well, I couldn't believe one case where this man abandoned his wife with 8 children and was now living with a woman and taking care of that woman and her 9 children. So it's quite a complex issue and something that you can't wish. Why would you abandon your wife with your 8 children, your biological 8 children, and be with a woman who has 9 children which are not yours and you're looking after them? So your children are not going to school. Your children are suffering so much. And you've left your wife to raise them on her own. And you've gone off, so it's a very complex. I think human nature is very complex. The dynamics of family is very, very complex, and it's very contextual as well. And that's why we are guarding against just blanket statements.
Exactly. Wow, that is really a baffling case. It reminds me of something that I was also watching as I was doing my research, where this gentleman says, well, I don't want to I will never marry a single mom, but that doesn't mean that I cannot come in to marriage with children. Even if I have children, I don't want to marry a single mom. That's just not an option for me. And the reason he says is that he already has enough responsibility with his own children. So he's not willing to marry a woman who has children because it means that on top of the fact that he will not be number one in her life, the fact is that he's adding to the responsibilities that he already has. So he wants to marry a woman with no kids, even if he has kids. And this one, just like warped my mind. I was like, what does that mean? It's really selfish.
Yeah, it happens to widows, like especially widowed men. When men are widowed and they have children, so they're widowers, right? So they have children, and then they want to marry somebody. They'll look for somebody who doesn't have children, or if they have children, they will tell them that you can't come into the marriage with the child. And sometimes women make that option and leave the child with the family, for whatever reason they make that option. So we do have those type of scenarios here. I actually, did handle a case or come across a case like that, where that type of dispute was there, where the man did not want to or marry the lady unless she abandoned, or rather she left her child with her family. So it's really unfortunate because we do have also those cases where we have the blended families where you have maybe the man is a widower and maybe the lady is a single parent, and then you find them marrying and raising those children together. We do have such situations, today happening in our lives today. The other thing, of course, in the African context is the or in any context where we have the polygamous marriages, where there are multiple wives and several children, you could have a situation where because of the economics of it all, you could have one of them, although she's a wife, she's actually raising her child on her own mostly, and the men the man or the father of the child is mostly absent, and so the lady in that the mother in that circumstance is raising her child on her own. And it can be a big challenge for them, especially in the traditional sense, because sometimes the mother themselves is not as educated as she can be, because of this, how she was raised, the context in which she grew up. We're talking about maybe the Maasai areas and places like that. So she is also not educated, but you find they are very, very determined to educate their children because they have not benefited from education themselves. So again, just reiterating the fact that it's contextual thing. Single moms are, like Queen Mo said, they are actually unsung heroes, and many children will come out and actually appreciate their parents. And say, this is my mom and this is my dad. They described. Some children even give their mothers, their single parent mothers, they give them a Father's Day card, or they wish them happy Father's Day because they say, you are both my mom and my dad.
That is very true. In fact, most children who are brought up in single parent households, they see their mother as their family. That is their family. In other words, there's the mother worrying about the child not, having access to their father, but their child is saying, no, but you're my family. That's all I know. That's it. That is my family. That's all I know. Yeah. And how about we say something about the people who are married and feeling like single moms in their marriages because they don't have the support of their spouses? It's very, very common. A lot of people are in marriages, living in marriages and partnerships where they feel like single parents. It's a very sad situation, but that's another dynamic altogether. So, like Susan said, human relationships are complex, very super complex. Yeah. So let's also talk about something else here. Let me show you something that I thought that was quite nice. Let me see if I can enter full screen here.
I felt the earth beneath me. I walked across an empty land. I knew the pathway like the back of my hand. I felt the earth.
This one is a single mom who is going through dark times. Yeah. And she's got a baby in her car. She's a young mother, as you can see. Beautiful, beautiful woman. She has one child. She's a very young girl, this one. She's probably early 20s. Yeah. She says she's hardworking and she's going through a difficult time with her baby. A beautiful baby in the back seat. Anybody who's a single mom can really relate with that. Definitely.
I knew the pathway like the back of my hand.
And the song is saying, I walked across an empty land. I knew the pathway like the back of my hand. I tend to get very sentimental with such things, by the way. You guys don't know the other side of me. I'm quite sentimental. I like to see those kinds of videos where a woman says absolutely nothing, but I can read everything. I can read her feelings. I can read her. I can see what she's going through. Yeah. What it took to braid that child's hair, to put that child in the car seat, to sit in the front seat and think, what is my future going to look like? Do I have a chance? Do I stand a chance to meet a person who will appreciate me? Who will see that I'm this great person, that I'm this beautiful person? Am I really as beautiful as I look in the mirror? Sometimes you even doubt yourself, you lose your confidence. You look at yourself as when you're very young, you even don't have time to think about your beauty or your looks or anything because you're just thinking about where you're going to get the next meal for this child. You're worrying about jobs, worrying about housing. You're worrying about, providing for this child. What's going to happen? Is the child, when they grow up, are they going to blame you for having brought them into this world and to suffer with you. But you see, the thing is, one of the things I can tell single moms: never blame yourself. Congratulate yourself. Give yourself a pat on the back, because raising a child and bringing a child from being a tiny baby of 8 kilos to being a child of like 10, 15 kilos is a big job, a very big job. Give yourself a pat on the back. Yeah. Always say words of affirmation to yourself as a single mom. Whether you're a young single mom or older single mom, a single mom whose children have even left the nest, give yourself a huge pat on the back. Go and have a big slice of chocolate cake. Yeah. Although your children might not like it because they want you to live a long life because you're only one parent. One thing I discovered is, like, for example, since I was a single mom for so many years, my son is always on my case with my diet. You know, he's always been, look at you, mom. Why do you like eating sweet things? Why do you like eating stuff? Sugar, cakes, I don't know what, crisps, what? Why are you eating those things, mom? Mom, you need to go to the gym. You need to do this. I'm like, child, man, what's your problem? Yeah. But I realize, you know, they feel that urge, they feel that need to keep their one parent healthy, you know. So they'll try their best not to bother you. They'll try their best to make you happy, because you're the only one parent. Yeah. And so what I can tell you as single parents is that, you know, once you're a single parent, whether you're older or younger, you still have a chance. Life is full of many chances to correct wrongs. And you didn't make a mistake by staying for your child. You're actually a hero. You're an unsung hero. And actually, you know, it's about time that we started loving each other as single parents. And let me see if I can present something. I don't know whether Susan wanted to say something there. That's overcoming tough times.
Yeah, I think some institutions have recognized the value of single parents. For instance, in some churches, they have like what they call the single parents ministry, where the single parents can gather together and, you know, they have they support one another. They have common problems and stuff, like challenges and stuff like that. And one thing that we learned was that, like in the church that I go to, we have the single parents fellowship, and then we have the they call themselves special ladies. The special ladies are widows. And what happened is that initially the clergy did not, the leadership of the church did not understand the distinction between a single mom, a single parent, and a widow.
A widow,
and
yeah.
The difference was that their experiences are very different, because single moms, most of them have been the heads of their homes from the get-go, you know, from a long time back, at least in the history of the child. They've been there, you know, as single parents for most of the life of the child. So they're used to being independent. They're used to making decisions alone. That what we were talking about yesterday, that independence, interdependence relationship in a marriage is not there with the single parent, but it's there in a widow. So their life experiences are so different, because for the widow, for the most part, and we're talking about a balanced marriage, they're used to making decisions together with somebody else who's now no longer with them, you know, about the children. So that's how, you know, the widows were able to explain, our issues are different. You know, we're grieving the loss of somebody who has been with us all this time, and now is no longer there. And now we have to transition to making decisions on our own. You know, it's really quite difficult for them, as opposed to single parents who have been, you know, making decisions, being very independent, you know, from the beginning. Yeah. So there are ministries like that which support the single parents. For the viewers who are Christians, look for them. They're there. Actually, they're not just for Christians, but they are churches have that type of ministry, and then really give support. They advise one another. They have social, you know, events that we know, for, you know, to keep people happy and just to motivate people and stuff like that. So look out for those.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you, Susan. And kind of like in line with what you're saying, here is a young man who is giving advice to single moms about how to find love. how to date as a single mom. I think this one is quite interesting. I think you'll find it interesting here.
Successfully as a single mom. And even if you aren't a single mom, there are probably going to be some gems in here that are going to really help you thrive in dating. Okay, my first actual point is that I want you to actually get out of your masculine energy. You're so used to actually taking control and doing everything for everyone else that receiving and allowing and accepting help from other people is going to feel foreign and wrong, but your future guy is going to want to do that. So you have to actually get used to doing that. So you're going to have to step away from the masculine energy. The second thing that I want for you is I actually want you to find the little girl inside. You know what? You've been hella responsible for so long. I want you to actually have fun, let your hair down, and have a good time. And I'm not talking about getting plastered at a club. I'm talking about finding those things that are inherently amazing and light you up. And if you don't have any idea what that is, I want you to go back to the ages of between 8 and 12. Those things that you love there, I want you to pick up and start doing again, okay? The other thing that I want you to get rid of is this mindset that like, oh, nobody's going to want me because I'm a single parent. Girl, you being a single parent is one of the better filters that you can have while dating, because the men that are going to want to be with you and engage with you and lean into you are the men that are actually more family oriented. Yeah. So you understand that your current family structure is one of the best filters that you can have in dating. The other thing that I want to offer to you when you're thinking about dating as a single woman is I don't want your kids to be the excuse about why you are or are not dating. So for example, sometimes people say, oh, I want to date because I want to find a father for my kids. Wrongo dongo, as my mom would say. Or, oh, I can't date right now because of my kids. Excuses, one way or another. Dating is about you and what you want and what you need. And ultimately, your kids are going to want you to be as happy as possible. And if dating is going to do that for you, I want you to do that. Okay. And while you are dating, girl, first of all, you're going to need a babysitter's club. You're going to need a family member, a friend, and an actual babysitter that you're going to pay so that you can have a triad of people that can look after your kiddos if they are of younger age, so that you can get your date on. And then finally, girl, don't be talking about being a mama while you're on a date. He is dating you as a woman, not you as a mother. So take that mother hat off while you are dating and put that woman hat on. I hope any of this resonates with you. And if you have any other tips or have any questions, please comment below. And girl, you know we'll work it out. Have fun dating, y'all.
That was really cute, you know? I was really happy to see that. I saw that. I was like, oh, he's one of my favorites. So he's giving dating tips to single moms. And basically he's saying, love yourself, literally. Give yourself space. You reach out to the person who you really are between the ages of 8 to 12. What were we doing between the ages of 8 to 12? I was wondering. I think I remember what I was doing. Those days, I remember my mother bought me these. We actually went to the shop and we bought these sticky things for our nails. We used to paint our nails with clear polish, and then we'd stick little flowers on our fingers. Do you remember, Susan, doing those things? We'd put the nail polish in. We were all experimenting with very fake. What do we say? Fake makeup. We're wearing our mother's high heels and trying to look really cute in our dresses. I remember I was cutting out pictures from pictures of my favorite stars and putting them on my wall in the bedroom, and every one of those ones, by the way, was white, because that's actually what was available. It was crazy. I remember Olivia Newton-John. She was on my wall. Yeah. And what was his name again? The guy that she danced with. What was his name?
John Travolta.
John Travolta. He was the one on my wall. Who was the other girl? Somebody Angels. What was her name? Oh my God. If you guys know the kinds of fun we used to have before we had social media, it was so much fun. But oh yeah, Michael Jackson obviously was there on my cousin's walls. He was there. Him and his whole family were there. Jermaine Jackson and everybody. But I was of a different generation with Susan here. Yeah, we had those crazy people on our walls. And that's the whole idea. The idea is get obsessed with a guy, think about getting obsessed again with some dude. Yeah. It's actually kind of embarrassing to think about it. And apart from that, I was also a free spirit. Yeah, I used to love exercising, riding my bike, going to do stuff, going to collect rabbit food and manure, and going to the garden and picking flowers and playing. That was me. That was me, age 8 to 12. But you see what happens when you become a single parent? Sometimes what happens is that it's such a stab. It's such a stab in the back that you feel like that sword has come and stabbed your heart, and you can no longer be the same person. So it's going to be such a trip to try to look for yourself. You know, you're like, who was I? What did I used to enjoy? Who am I? Because sometimes what happens is a real hit to your confidence. Whether you're a woman or a man, whether you're a single man, a single parent male, or single parent female, if you've been left, for anybody who has been left will have their confidence affected one way or another. Oh, Louis is here. Hey, Louis. Hi. Good afternoon. From here, happy Sunday. Thank you very much, Louis. Good night. Actually, it's 11 o'clock almost here in Nairobi, and good afternoon wherever in Texas. I remember you said you're in Texas. Lovely to see you there. What do you think about this single parents talk? I'm dying to hear what Louis has to say because I know it's controversial. 100%. Susan, have anything to say? Yeah, this guy's got, he says, when you go to your date, don't go and start talking about, oh, I don't know, I have 10 children. Don't talk about your children at the first date. And remember that one of the things that men seem to fear most is not being number one. Yeah. So on your date, kind of show him that he's very important. Yeah. As a lady, make him number one on your date for once. Yeah. And the other thing he says is make arrangements for babysitting. That's true, so that you're not worried about your children. And one of the things also that I know is that a lot of people are not dating anymore, actually. They don't like the idea of going on dates. They find dates stressful. And all I can say about that is maybe don't call it a date, and don't go for traditional dates. The types of dates that to me are very stressful are the ones where maybe you're going out for dinner. Can you imagine going for dinner with someone you don't know? I won't even be able to eat. I can't swallow. I told you, me and food, we have issues. Don't give me food and somebody who I don't know in front of me. I'm not comfortable with that. Some people are, some people are not. Maybe going to a movie, maybe to lick an ice cream. Yeah, that one I could do. Eat some popcorn. That's actually not bad at a movie. In a dark place, in a movie hall, that's cool because he doesn't have to see you. You don't have to see him. You just concentrate on your popcorn and the movie. That's cool. So, but when you go for dinner, you're actually looking into each other's eyes. He's staring at you the whole time, and you're like sweating bullets, and you're going to excusing yourself to go to the ladies every 2 seconds. And you're like, oh my God, when is this date coming to an end? I am so done. Or maybe he's boring you, or maybe you're boring him and he really wants to be done with this date. So one of the safest ways to go on dates is maybe just, go for a walk somewhere, sit in make it really short. I think make it really short, and maybe be around other people as well and get to see how they also relating with other people. I think that's important. I thought that was very nice, very sweet of him to say, kind of like to show single moms that, yeah, you can still be on the market, and you can still, it's not the end of your dreams to pair up with a partner just because you decided to stay and look after your child.
Single moms are not, like the first video we looked at, this guy was describing single moms as being of lesser value. That's wrong. That's a wrong statement. Single moms are unsung heroes. They are not of a lesser value. And the other thing, of course, is that all single moms, I mean, for sure, they would look forward to raising, if they have male children, good men who will be good fathers and good husbands. And that is in the thoughts of all parents. I mean, whether you're, in a marriage situation or in a single parent situation, you want to raise your children to be the best they can be. If they are males, as good men, to be good fathers and to be good husbands. And there's, a great joy that that you experience when that happens. Also, I think that single women, single mothers are very resilient. they're able to cope, they're able to adjust, and they're able to move into, they're able to be very innovative and creative to fill the any gaps that might be felt. And in terms of trying to think of ways to address issues, for instance, like I gave an example of some social settings where you need to have a male accompany your male child. I mean, you'd find ways for that to happen, so that your child doesn't miss out on that. You know, doing some stuff which you may find a bit difficult to do, because it's not something you choose to do, but you will put, you will be tough and just do it. I remember one time, sometimes children insist that you play, you participate in sports day. I don't know how many of us have participated in sports day. So, you're put in a situation where you're told, oh, you have to go and enroll, and then the sport that is chosen is something like football. And you have to go and play it, even though you're not even sure which way the how to kick the ball or what you're supposed to do on the pitch. And but for your child, because perhaps they've seen you taking up all these different roles and being able to fill them up, being innovative in making sure that any gaps are addressed. I mean, they don't think there's anything strange in asking you to do something which are normally you normally see males doing, but they expect you to do it. The child asking you to teach them how to somersault. That might be difficult for many women, but you might find as a single mom, you will just get down to it and do it. I think so. Single moms are very, very practical people. They're very pragmatic people. They're problem solvers for the most part. And like the that video where this lady is literally just from the age of 13 having children every single year. And like Queen Mo said, that is a very sort of irresponsible way to look at it. And I think I understood her to say there's some money that she gets per child, is it? Because she has all these children. So that's a very transactional thing. There's something that
she gets $3,000 in grocery bills, in grocery support. Yeah, probably food stamps and a combination of food. It's a lot of money a month. Yeah. $3,000 a month for food. Are you kidding? It's a lot. It's a lot. Although maybe for 7 children it might not be, but it depends on what they're eating. It depends. But I think it's good. It's a good amount of money. Although I've seen people do shopping hauls for something like about, $400 at one time. But they buy a lot of food. That's enough, I think, for a month. Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that for that particular lady, it seemed to me that she was after the money. And that's so for her, she's found a way of surviving. And so I'm not sure, they didn't show us the condition under which those children were living. There are 7 children and even the 8th one who's coming. So,
what I found really interesting
one of the more disturbing.
What I find really interesting, Susan, was the entitlement. Did you see the entitlement of some of those women? They're like, oh, well, when the right man comes along, it'll be just fine. Yeah, they'll accept me with all my, troop of kids. And over here, by the way, Louis has something to say. I knew he was going to say something interesting. He said, I live. Do you say you live or you lived? I live with a single mother of 2, approximately for 1 year. See? That's our good friend Louis. He says he lived. Did he say you live or you lived? I live or I lived, Louis. Is that past tense or current tense?
I think it's past tense.
I live with a single mother of 2, approximately for 1 year. How is that going, Louis? If you want to tell us, yeah, briefly. We don't really know you, so it's okay. How is that going? Are you managing? Did you manage? Oh, lived. Oh, aha. He lived. Aha. So that's past tense. Obviously, that didn't work, Louis. So what was difficult about living with that? What is it that didn't work? In brief, in short, how was your experience? I'm waiting for Louis to type up over there. I hope he will. I hope he's going to say something. Yeah. But it's not easy. But, to survive a whole year with 2 kids that are not your own, oh, that is tough. That is really tough. And it's not even a marriage situation where you know that you have made that commitment. You're just living with another person and hoping that things will work out. Kids they can also be a deal breaker when it comes to relationships, though. They're hard to deal with. And depending on how close you are to the mother or the father, to the parent, it can actually be a deal breaker. Children, they can. Let's just be honest and say that they're not for everybody. Marrying a single mom is not for everyone, and single moms should not take it personally when a man tells them, no, actually, I can't be with you because I don't want to be with a person who has kids. Nobody should take it personally. Just know that it's a preference. It's okay. Yeah, the most important thing is just that hopefully that person is not going to insult you. That's what's important. And Louis is saying, I liked it, but her son was 15 and the daughter was 14. I like it, but her son was 15 and the daughter was 14. Yeah. So teenagers, difficult, already molded. You don't have a chance to shape them.
Yeah,
When they're a bit younger, you can kind of shape them. It's a little easier. But when they're older, they're 15 and 14, it's harder. And if they're much older, then probably it's also easier again because they're not in the house. If they're already raised and not in
they
the
have
home,
the
that's
roots.
easier. Yeah.
That's
But
when you see the
15 and
rudeness.
14, that's not a joke. Yeah. But he said he liked it.
Yeah,
That means that Louis is actually
Yeah.
a family man. Like that gentleman said that actually one should look at their status as a single parent as a positive, because you'll most likely, the person who expresses interest in you, real serious interest in you, is family oriented. And that's true. They like children, number one, and they don't mind being in a ready-made family. I've heard people talk about having a ready-made family and they like it. Some people actually do like it. Some people don't want to have children of their own biologically, or they cannot, and they're happy to be with a woman who has children already. Or maybe somebody has already raised their children and they're happy to add a few more to their whatever and quiver, and there's no problem. So I think the most important thing is just to love oneself and to be open-minded. And most importantly, people should not be bullying single moms on social media or in mainstream media or blaming them for anything, because we don't really know the circumstances surrounding anybody's situationship. Yeah. Fia is saying some men find it hard to discipline the children. The moms don't allow it. That's true. That's very true. Some single moms are overprotective of their kids, which is not a bad idea, especially from somebody who is not their blood relative. It's a good thing to be protective and super protective, helicopter. But on the other hand, it's good to at least allow, your partner to have their views, to state their views with your children. And not necessarily raise a hand, but at least state their views and to respect your partner. I think it's important. Like for myself, I'm in a situation where I'm already in a blended family. And I can tell you right now, firsthand, that I experienced it. It was not easy, to bond with children who are already above the age of 5. Because usually by the time children are around 4, 5 years old, 6 years old, they have kind of settled into who they really are. So once you get them a little bit older than that, when they're 8, 9, and then going into 13, 14, it can be quite difficult. So it's kind of like a balance. You have a love-hate relationship. They have a love-hate relationship with you, first of all, because they see you as competition, as coming in the way of their parent. In my situation, for example. But I saw it very differently with my son, who is much older. He's already outside of the house. He was much more embracing. It was very easy for him to accommodate my husband because he doesn't live in the same house with us. But these are the children, these ones who are little, my husband's little children. It took some time for them to warm up with me. They had to develop trust. And they had to see that I wasn't coming in as a replacement for their mother, that kind of thing. That kind of thing. I think it's very important to understand that kids need time to also adapt and adjust to you just as much as you need time to adjust to them as an adult. So Louis is saying, there was some instances when her son will take money from my bag. My cologne went missing. I can smell my cologne on her son. Loud volume on cell phone when I'm trying to sleep. Always on cell phone. Yeah, those are habits. And, you know, when it comes to cologne on your boy, actually take that as a compliment because that child was trying to emulate you. They were seeing you as somebody that they could emulate. They liked that about you, that you smell good, obviously. So the fact that your cologne went missing, maybe the idea was be just buy them a cologne. When it comes to taking money from your bag, no, that one is also an issue. By the way, yes, these things happen with children. Some children are coming from a situation where they feel insecure, financially insecure. They also feel like they're trying to look for themselves, their identity issues. So these are all issues to do with insecurity, because sometimes, you know, when you raise your child right from when they're very young, you teach them already that money is available to them. But sometimes some of these children are coming from a circumstance where they're coming from lack. And so they will have these very bad habits of stealing. And stealing is something that it really irritates me. It's a very bad thing. Very, very bad. And when they get to the age of 14, 15, it's almost like you can't really do anything about it except maybe lock everything up in a safe, which is not an easy way to live, really. Yeah. And then trying to sleep, they're always on their cell phone. Oh my God. Yeah, discipline can be really difficult to deal with. Okay, guys, we're going to wind up now and say thank you so much for your time and thank you for your yeah, Sophia was also saying the same thing about men finding it difficult to discipline kids. I want to say thank you so much, guys, for your time. Tomorrow is a working day. Today is Sunday. We're going to have an early night tonight. Susan, any last words before we say kwaheri and good night to everybody?
Yeah, you know, I'm happy we discussed about single moms and looked at the challenges, and really they are to be very valued members of our society. They are a family unit, a family type, and it can be a very strong and good family unit, and we can have very, very good children. A lot of the early research or whatever studies or blanket statements about them needs to be discouraged. We should say no to them because they are not fact-based. And in fact, they are victimizing not just the mothers, but the children too. And the children, is very, very wrong to make children victims of anything, you know, our prejudices or something like that. So I say, women who are single moms, congratulations, well done. You are our unsung heroes.
Yes, single parents are so, I love single parents, especially responsible single parents. Responsible single parents, I always look at them with a lot of awe. I remember when I was at work and I had my bosses, and I would tell them I'm going home. My child is not feeling well. And I would go home. I tell you, my bosses would never, ever argue with me. Never. If they wanted to see a fight, a war, they were even afraid of me at that point. And then I realized that there were people that were talking behind my back, and they were saying how much they admire my commitment to my child. And that was really nice to know that my boss actually thought that that was really cute. The fact that I would say, I am going home in the middle of the day because I get a phone call from home, my son is not well, or from school, and I just abandon ship and I'm off. Because I put my child as my priority. It's very important when children are young as single parents, do not delegate responsibilities, especially when it comes to your child's health. Remember that you are the main parent. Be there. Try to be there as much as possible. And if you're not there, you need to find somebody who is equal to you to leave your child with. Not just any Tom, Dick, and Harry. Again, it's also the issue of security. Keep your children safe, especially if you have a girl child or even a boy child. You have to remember that they are vulnerable, and there are some crazy people in society who may not mean well for your children or who may not have come from good backgrounds. So you have to be careful. So, okay, guys. So to all our children, for you who are single parents and for us who were single parents, to all our children, want to say thank you to them. We love them. and we appreciate them for being patient and being strong, and we know that they're going to be successful. And yes, all children of single parents, we love you, and even children of two-parent households, yes, but this is for single parents. Just continue, being tough, being strong, and everything will work out. And just because you're a child from a single parent doesn't mean that you're any less or any less than anybody else. You're not. In fact, you're special, and especially endowed with a lot of capabilities, because you've had to resist and be resilient to so much. Okay, so on that good night, everybody, and good day. To-dos. Bye-bye. Thank you for watching. Everybody who's coming later, please watch. Give us a thumbs up and give us your comments. We would appreciate it. Thank you very much. Until tomorrow, see you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, Susan.
Bye. Good night. Yeah.
Good night.